Okay, we're back in open session. Looking at something to say. Okay. So we wanted to, talk about having Soltis, actively advise on Goalmaker.
Uh-huh.
And, we've discussed that and we want to go ahead and make a recommendation to do that.
I'll make the motion that we do that and make the recommendation to the commissioners for their decision.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that will pass 6-0. So that is that.
Means, Tyler, you're gonna have to come to a commission meeting.
Okay. We'll
We'll let you know when.
Okay, yeah, let us know when, and then when that gets final approval, whatnot. The only thing that we have to adjust is just the fee schedule. Our contract actually already includes language that we have the ability to, that we can do that as part of our services, but it wasn't included in the fee schedule under the services, so we'll just, that's the only adjustment we
And
can
I
make.
imagine the commissioners will want this on a work session before they do a final session.
Maybe. I'm still trying to figure out that standard.
Just let us know when.
When you figure it out, let the rest of us
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on the agenda we need to speak to? I know there was one last item,
calendar.
the calendars. So I think that's the last item.
Yeah, just on education, just want to give a report of last year and then looking at some of the things this year. So if you turn to page 100, that gives the calendar from last year. And then there's actually a summary on page 102 as well. But so we had, by our contract, we're contracted to be here 12 days a year in terms of being on site for education. We were actually here for 15 days. We did 120 plus of one-on-one meetings with employees, and the 2 benefit fairs that you guys have, and then I think as we mentioned, I think we've been well received, moving the needle on a few things, Roth and others, and as we look into next year. So as we've kind of had a discussion earlier today, there's a few things that we want to look at and make sure that are on the calendar that you're aware of. So one is we have what's called our webinar series, and these are 401k education topics that I would say most, come up pretty frequently. What we do is we kind of go throughout the year and gather from not only Utah County employees, but other employees as well, and participants about questions they have. And then we put together a quarterly webinar series with different topics. So if you look at that on page 101, our first one will be on March 5th, and it will be on Roth versus traditional. So obviously, as I mentioned, that's been a pretty hot topic. We'll have a flyer that kind of comes to you, and you guys can choose if you want to disseminate that to your employees. They can log into that webinar and listen to it live. We record it as well, so if that, whatever's more effective to do it that way. So that's the one in March. In May, we'll do another one on budgeting. We'll talk specifically about 401ks, HSAs, and just saving accounts, budgeting in general. In September, we're going to do one that's more geared towards those that are within 10 to 15 years of retirement, talking about kind of helping to evaluate where they're at, how close, what they need to be thinking of. And then our last one will be in November, and it will be talking about just some of the apprehensions. I think some of the most common questions that we get are, hey, I'm worried about this, or I'm worried about that, or I'm not sure how that's going to work, and just trying to help kind of answer some of those questions and go through some of those. So that's the quarterly webinar series, and then of course we have our scheduled monthly on-sites, both for just one-on-ones as well as enrollment meetings as you have new employees come on. So I think we had 10 of those. If I look at 102. In addition to the on-site, we had 10 new higher orientation meetings that we did, and then I mentioned the 2 benefit fairs. So, and then I guess what I would end with there is it sounds we've got multiple kind of campaigns that we would like to focus on for 2020 to, I think, help your participants. We've talked about one, we've kind of looked at some of the data, but you've got a pretty significant group of your population that the stable value option is the only option they've picked. And our guess is that you may have a few that have picked that, but you may have a few that kind of ended up there and they just have never made a change. And so one of the campaigns that we'd like to look at for 2020 is being able to work with those participants and just help them. If that's the right option for them, great. If it's not, or it's not intentional, working with them to help them get to better investment options in their account that are more appropriate for them. The second one, I'm glad it came up today, because the second one is you've got a pretty good group of population, as we all already discussed, that aren't at that 6.2%, and I think there's a definite benefit that we could do in targeting them and trying to help move the needle on those. And so those are the two big ones, in addition to just the regular orientation and one-on-one meetings that we'd like to focus on and try and help drive, in terms of helping your participants. So those are what we've looked at, but of course, discussion from the committee members if there's others or substitutes or things that we need to focus on otherwise.
Can I ask you an educational question? Maybe
Sure.
this goes for Ralph too. You know, we do a good job of educating folks about what the maximum is they can contribute to the 401k and 457. And then there's a catch-up if you're over 50. But I just read something the other day that there's also something that is the last 3 years of your retirement where you can add even additional money over that. But I don't think that's ever been discussed in anything any meeting I've attended. And maybe it's just because as you get closer, nobody wants to know it. I mean, I often heard that people will try to use that to max out when they're taking out their payout when they retire. So rather than pay taxes on all that, hey, I can put it into a 401k or a 457, and on that one-time basis to kind of increase that and save some taxes.
Yeah.
But is that true? Is there a 3-year, within 3 years of retirement, that you can bump that up by 19,000?
Yes, it is true, and I've looked into it. And my question is, do you have to designate with Prudential when you do it? Is there something on your site that says this is what I'm doing? You have to be within 3 years of your, and we asked this question, what is the normal retirement age for our plans? And I think we came up with 65. But yeah, I looked into it, and it is available in the plan. Prudential references it, so.
Is there a reason it's never publicized very much, or am I just missing it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, to be very candid, it doesn't.
I think
not
it is
something I'm aware of.
non-ERISA.
So it's
for
gotta be outside
government.
of
It's for
ERISA.
governments, governmental employees.
I don't think it's just governmental, I think it's.
Or nonprofit or government.
I'm not, it's with 457.
I think
It's a 457 plan only.
457 plans are non-ERISA.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in lieu of the over 50 catch-up. You can't do both.
You can't do both, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so, but this
Can't
one
say
gives
one
you
or the other.
far more money that you can contribute in those 3 years if you want to do it. But I just wasn't sure if we have to designate anything when we're doing it with Prudential. I haven't really gone out to look for it on the site, but I know it's,
System should probably be set up. I don't know if we set it up, and I can check with Carol. My phone ran out of battery, so
Hey, Mark,
it got up at 4 AM
can you
too.
make a note about workday configuration and that?
normally we don't,
There won't be.
so
I
normally
know.
the system, so if it's in your document, it should be set up in the system that it will allow it.
Yeah.
Like the criteria should be there, that we know how old they are, but I'll have to check with Carol.
I guess it would be just good to see an education piece that covers
Yeah.
that, so
Yeah.
that we don't mess it up.
I didn't know
Yeah.
anything about
I
that.
think I've got a copy in my file if
Yeah.
you want me to get you a copy of that, but I looked it up too, cause I'm thinking of doing the same thing, this year, in fact, but I wasn't sure if I had to designate anything.
Well, I know, Ralph, we had talked about doing retirement readiness.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's an opportunity, yeah.
So we have, I didn't mention those, we have 2 of those slated. Now, they're not Utah County specific, but I would say that's something that we could look to provide some additional detail around. So we'll have 2 of those. One's, the end of March, or excuse me, not end of March, it's in May. And that retirement readiness, I'm trying to think, Dave, have you been to one?
I went to one, yeah.
So in
Good
that
job.
session, we bring in other professionals, like an estate planning attorney, to just talk about, hey, whether you're worth 10 million or $10. Social Security, we have a Social Security expert that will talk about what you need to be thinking about for Social Security, and then we
We
talk
talk
about,
about Medicare. too.
yep, Medicare and Medicaid,
And even though this wouldn't apply to all your clients, it would be nice if you know,
Yeah.
that information was available.
So I'm thinking two things. One is we could either dive into that a little bit, and or two, even put together, like you're saying, almost like a one page that just kind of explains
Yeah.
what it is, how it works, and then you can disseminate it. And or I'd say the last one is if we wanted to look at the number of people in the Utah County plan that are eligible and do a
Something special for them.
specific session to explain it to them, we'd be more than happy to do so.
I'm not trying to give you more work, but.
No,
think
no,
it's
I
great.
think as we
I
look
think
at,
it's a good idea.
That's good, yeah.
we'll be the first to say your best education, the most effective is that's targeted. In other words, when you're actually talking to or educating around a topic that you know that particular person has. I mean, that's why when we look at 2020, we do the webinar series because there's kind of general education I think people are looking for on a regular basis, but to be very candid, you don't get a
That's
ton of,
specific.
you don't get a ton of, well, you don't get a ton of moving the needle. People will listen, oh, that's good, it's good for me to know. But the targeted is where you can look and say, hey, this is an issue, we can help solve it and actually change behavior. So we got 12 days, so we can look and I think something like that would be good.
So on your participant level training for 2019, you have 15 retirement plan planning.
Yeah,
How are those different than the one-on-ones?
so the 15 are people that we've sat down and they've actually specifically asked us to help them look at and build a comprehensive plan. So when we sit down with a participant in a 401K setting, we'll pretty much turn to them and say, hey, this time is for you. Our whole job here is to help you figure out what questions you have or what needs you have and what we can help you with. And so we go through that with them, whatever questions they have. A lot of times it's, hey, help me look at my account. I want to look at my investments. Sometimes it's, hey, how much am I contributing? Is it enough? And part of that conversation is, hey, have you ever had or had the ability to help build a financial plan? And if it's not, and we have that conversation, then we'll do that, and then we do a planning session with them, and then we do a follow-up where we kind of show them that plan, and they have it readily available and can meet with us on a regular basis going forward.
Oh, I see. Also, you indicated that the current agreement has 12 days. I think it's actually 14 and not 12.
Okay.
But I see
should
you
went over that
had
anyway.
15, so did you charge us for the extra? You
We
just-
did not.
Great, well, thanks.
You're welcome.
I also noticed that in the past, there's been some indication that the schedule fills up real quickly.
Tucker can probably speak. I know that we're busy when we're here. We don't, which is great.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we need 2 of you here on those days instead of 1.
Okay. So we can certainly do that. I think on the contract, we have education day as 1 advisor per day.
No, it's set up to where if we need 2, you've agreed to provide 2 on each of those days,
Okay,
2 for 14 days.
okay.
I just don't know if there's that need or to do that, but if there's difficulty meeting the need, that's the current agreement, is
Okay.
that you would provide up to 2
Okay.
each day for 14
I'll
days.
circle with Tucker. In terms of the team, they haven't communicated to us that that they haven't had enough time or they've had to turn people away. But if there's that need, and certainly we'll honor our contract, so.
I don't know,
Would they know
if
that
you
they
noticed
had
that?
to turn people
I have
away?
noticed that they fill up.
You sign up on Solstice website,
Yeah, so
right?
we have a
They
time
fill
trade
up.
tool
So
where
you
they can
wouldn't
sign
know.
up.
Or maybe we need 2
You're
people
turning
on
people
Solstice
away,
each
not-
day instead of just 1.
Yeah, I know we did that a few times when you guys started out. Maybe that was because we were behind.
Mhm.
But again, it just, anecdotally, it seemed like they filled up, like all of the sessions filled up, so. And I think we could utilize it, actually, a lot
Okay.
of it.
Do you have 2 that you can provide? I assume you do.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we'll honor our contract, for sure. So we've got multiple team members. I'm thinking schedule-wise, the only reason I hesitate is knowing schedule and timing and what's on the schedule right now, so, but we'll, if there's
Yeah.
demand for 2 and that's what our contract states, then we'll go through it.
I would say yes. I would say there is demand for 2.
You might try that for a
Okay.
time or 2 and see if it actually fills up the slots. If not, why
Sure,
we don't want to have
okay,
them here wasting time.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's true. Is there anything else we need to discuss today? I wanted to ask one question. Why do we start at 3 o'clock? Why don't we start at 2?
I agree.
Let's change it
My
from now
brain
on.
doesn't get here in time.
Let's, Mark, henceforth, our meetings will be at 2 o'clock.
Okay, I will schedule the meetings.
Let it be
The
written.
room's not available.
Get it.
Let it be done.
Thanks, that's a good idea.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
6-0, let's go.